Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new series of Barber vs Barber. I am your host Miguel Gutierrez, also known as the Normal Barber. Join me on this journey as we put 12 barbers to the test in the qualifying rounds where only 4 can make it through to the semis and make it one step closer to being the overall winner. Up next, a little introduction from our guest judges before we get to know our second round contestants a little bit better. Dion, Josh and Dion.
What's happening guys, I'm Kem Mehmet, Clipper Kem, owner of Cuts and Bruises Barbershop, been cutting hair since I was 15 years old and we're here to see some talent.
Hey, I'm Kieran Webb, the London Barber. We're here to judge some great barbers here today, so it's going to be fun.
My name is Dion O'Dowd. I'm from Limerick in Ireland and I just recently moved up to Dublin for a crowd called Cut and Sew, a pretty big brand, so I was delighted to move. That's kind of what brought me up there. Just been barbering 4 years and just trying to improve most of them. I've done, this will be my 4th competition. I went on 2 to come back and I came 2nd in the first one I entered, which is involved with colour as well, so it's a bit different to what's going on today, like, you know. So.
I'm Josh, I'm from Middlesbrough, so a few hours from here. I've been barbering 7 years now, and this is probably like my 3rd kind of competition at this level. Well, the first competition, COVID hit, so we were hoping that at some point we were going to get around to doing it, but that never happened. And then last year I got through to Afro Barber of the Year finals, but again, the competition, like, you didn't get any feedback, so other than the winner, nobody knew where you got placed. So it's nice that you're getting feedback today and finding out what you can improve or what you like. So I think that was another thing why I wanted to do this.
So I'm Dion, known as D1 Trims on Instagram. I joined the barbering scene in 2017 as an apprentice. Finished my apprenticeship in 2020, and ever since that I've just been trying to push and try and enter as much stuff as I can to sort of just get myself out there and get exposure.
Next up, we're going to hear from each of the contestants to hear a little bit about what they're actually going to be doing with their haircuts. Each contestant will have 45 minutes and they'll have headphones on so they can't hear what the judges are saying throughout. Welcome everyone to this new project we got going on, Barber vs Barber, the UK's first YouTube barber competition. Yeah, so the reason I asked these guys to come and help judge with me today is because we're covering all aspects from posture, stance, how you work, presentation, barbering technique, hairdressing technique, styling, and then the overall finish. So I've got 2 kind of experts in their fields, with both have a lot of experience. I'm kind of like the middle ground between the 2. So yeah, just want you to really take the time, use the time and enjoy yourself. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys can do. Dion, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing today?
Yeah, so on top I'm just going to keep like a kind of quiff, maybe go up and over with it. Keep all the shape and the sides, and I'm going to fit it down to a 1. But probably up like a 2.5, a 3 near the top, just to keep that kind of shape and the haircut, so it styles up.
Sweet. Josh, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing?
Gonna do a skin fade, taper it into his beard, probably put a surgical line in there somewhere, and then take his fringe off, go really short and choppy on top.
Nice. What about yourself, Dion?
So I'm going to do like more of a classical style, do a low taper fade, chop into the top a bit, give it a bit of texture, rough it up a bit of a mond.
Go. So after sitting through 1 round already, is there things that you're going to be looking out for that you weren't maybe thinking about before?
No, not really. I don't think my standards have changed between rounds. I think I'm still looking for the same sort of stuff. I'm going to try be as fair as I can with each round and with each person competing.
I think we have a variation in terms of experience, length of time cutting as well, which I know doesn't really factor in anymore because some people are ridiculously good at 1 year in now. Mm-hmm. You know, it's crazy to see some of the younger talents.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I say about sort of observing the relationship they have with hair and with the trade itself.
Yeah.
You know, is the approach all method? Is it all really well thought out steps, or is there like a bit more of a what I like to call a bit more flowetry with it, because they're a little bit more just
Flowetry.
Yeah, but it's just moving around, and you know, are you comfortable with what you're doing?
Like you were saying earlier, like one of the things you notice a lot about people after obviously being an educator and teaching that is his stance and posture.
For sure.
Because if you're standing on stage and hunching over, it's obviously not a good way to present yourself.
Most definitely not. It's very easy to do that though. It's very easy to forget that you're hunched over. We're very good at sort of doing that to ourselves in all aspects of life. I mean, I would generally point cut on wet hair myself, personally.
You wouldn't?
I would.
Oh, you would?
Yeah.
Point cutting on wet hair is sort of the way Josh is doing now, just to create that base texture. But I think it's like too much, like removing weight on wet hair. It just doesn't make sense, does it? Like using thinners on wet hair.
Not if they're deep powder point cutting, but if they're texturising, it's actually the position of the scissor that's most important. So for right-handers, it's like bringing the scissor more into like a 12 o'clock stance, and then working with the scissor almost more parallel, but just slightly off. So like 1 o'clock, and then trying to create like a more jagged edge, as opposed to
the texture you're trying to achieve.
Rather than like little tiny cuts where the scissor's flat, because at that point you might as well just
cut it straight. Yeah, exactly.
I think it's also cool to notice now that the way that Dion's turned the chair around to actually use the mirror. One of the sayings is your mirror is your biggest tool.
Yeah.
Not just for the back of the head, but for just making sure everything's even and stuff and looking. And that's one of the biggest challenges I think with any stage work as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is not having a bloody mirror on stage.
Yeah, that's the point where when you become an educator on stage, you start to realise that face shape is one of the most important things. So everyone has usually 2 eyes, 2 ears, a mouth and a nose, and you kind of... Yeah, well, usually they do.
Usually.
But you use that as a marker, you know, and try to use their features as a marker to work out your lengths and stuff.
What I find interesting about Josh's is that it was already short, but it's also it looks so different on top already, just by them little touches. It's because they're all very different, so I think there's not a lot between them so far. There's not like things I've seen that I don't like so much, you know what I mean? Like,
I think Dion over here, she's really comfortable working.
She's enjoying it.
Yeah.
We did say have fun.
If I hear a tune I like, I'm dancing.
Yeah.
While I'm trimming, do you know what I mean? It's one of them things that you got to get those tips. Got to dance those tips, babe.
Would you say this is a new thing in the barbering world, like to always
Scoop the
hairlines and?
It's not a new thing. I'd say there's a lot of people who do it unnecessarily too much without asking.
And they just cut back the hairline too
much. There's a lot of hairline being pushed back.
Right. So in that regard, you see it after a day or two and it looks terrible. So like you're doing it for the Instagram video or picture, whereas the client's got to live with that for the next 2-3 weeks. You know.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they're paying like over what's considered maybe over the odds.
Yeah. It's got to last. That's the point of a good haircut.
You know, we charge 30, nearly £40 for hair and beards. So you want that haircut to last as long as possible, right? Yeah. 4 weeks minimum.
2 years.
Cutting into a hairline is really not the way of doing that.
Yeah.
I lay into my guys for doing that. And it's like Kieran said, I think they're all really, really close. I think it's going to be in these last 2 rounds. From what we've seen from sitting at the table here, I've been happy with everything, sort of down from posture to comfortability for the client, techniques. They seem to have covered all basic and newer techniques. Sort of from your clipper and your scissor over combs to your sectioning. Hygiene has been a bit better this round as well, in terms of if someone's dropping something, they're doing something about it.
Sweet, second round's over. Let's go see what the haircuts are saying.
Nice.
So Dion obviously had like he had good luck finding the model in the first place.
Yeah.
But sadly he got this guy Look at the state of his face. No, Johnny. This is Carl. He's our other cameraman for today. Stepped up. So what do we say? I mean, like straight away, I can see what we were saying before. Nice, really just like nice barbering technique. Classic.
Yeah.
But like executed really well.
Yeah, I think he's really shown off sort of some barbering fundamentals here. So maybe just a little weight here that needed to
Just a smidge here, isn't
just
it?
a little bit there.
But you see that.
Colour density as well,
Just
isn't it?
yeah, just where it's gone back, but his hair grows forward, so you see that.
So I'm always very much like the hair has to sit nicely, however, whatever way it's falling.
Yeah.
Because a client is not going to style it the way you style it.
No, of course.
So you need it to look good when they, you know, in the morning when they, or if they're not going to do anything to their hair, they're not going to put any product in their hairs, it's still going to look good. That's like a huge.
Right.
Yeah, I would say the fade's good. It's good. It's again, it's another one of these
Soft though.
high but blurry fades. So it's like it's been stretched out quite a lot. So the
Yeah.
skin is actually only just through the bottom section there, like kind of just above the ear. But I think like the prep and the use of the thinning scissors on top to sort of remove that weight whilst creating texture is really nice.
This for me is the perfect crossover of barbering and hairdressing as well, as a complete style. You know, because he's used that precisional element of what barbering does with clippers and got the strong lines and got the texture to come out with the texturizing techniques of what hairdressing is. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And also sort of like in terms of like old school barbering techniques as well, I think the fade is good. The hairline hasn't been cut into too much, and this surgical line here on the side, it's tapered and sort of goes from thick to thin with like a very slight, nice curve to it, without being too sort of overpowering. It doesn't overtake the haircut. It's not the main feature.
yeah,
It's just a little highlight.
additive.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's quite nice. It's nice. Yeah, again, quite clean. Quite a clean finish. I think like the back has been tapered out quite nice, been faded.
You could see that straight away, couldn't you? As soon as you did
I
it.
think it's not as smooth as it could have been if you look just through here.
Yeah.
So it's smooth along here and then a little bit. And
And
again,
gone
this
to
is
the-
what I was saying about her using the fine tooth of the comb rather than the wide part of the wide tooth part of the comb.
Show on the camera.
You're not going to get this. You're not going to get the hair that you need to cut with the fine part of the comb.
I think it's cool. I think that, you know, one of my, from the barbering side of things, obviously with the charge and the clipper work, it looks great. My personal style with these types of haircuts is always to add more texture with more product. I probably would, because he's got such thick hair, using dust swells the hair even more and gives it a more volumized look.
And she
So I
combined products as well,
probably-
right?
Yeah, I probably would have put a little bit more of a wax-based product into this to get some of, because he's
I
got
think she
great
put a little bit
texture.
in.
Yeah, there was a
but-
bit there.
but
Because when I saw her do it, she kind of scrunched
Yeah,
it in,
yeah, yeah.
whereas I would have probably pushed it in.
Get it right into the
get
roots.
it in and really get that hair
And
to
really
move
pulled it
and
out,
see
yeah.
what, because she really went in and did some lovely point cutting and was texturising it great.
Yeah.
By adding the product in more, she probably would have got that texture to come out a little bit better.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it's really nice.
So yeah, let's go back and square her up and get the winner on. Next up, we're going to speak to both Deons and Josh, see how they think they did in the competition, and then myself, Kieran and Kem are going to go over the point system and see who's going to be going through to the next round.
So the haircut I was doing was actually fairly simplistic. I just kind of tapered it down to a 1. I tapered the edges into the same length as the beard, just so it didn't stand out too much. And then I tapered the back of the neck into the skin, just very subtle. Didn't want to go too mad with them. Yeah. To be honest, I am happy because it was just like I'd never met him before, you know, and stuff like that. So it was good to go in. I suppose it's like a regular day in the barber shop, like, you know. It was just good to go in and give it my best with his haircut and see how I could get on. So yeah, no, I enjoyed it.
So I done a skin fade, took his fringe like clean off, like fairly blunt, then I put a surgical line straight down it just to give contrast from where his blunt fringe is to into the like, surgical line. So just a bit of extra to it really. I'd have probably just picked at it a little more, like spinning a chair and seeing it in different light. Maybe could have picked little bits out of the fade that I wasn't overly happy with, but I feel like it went well.
So I just did a classic sort of taper fade, just chopped into the top, give it a bit of texture, pushed it over to the sides. It's more of a classic sort of modern everyday look. Yeah, probably just connecting the top and the bottom together a bit better, making it a bit more flush than what it was. Left a little bit of a light weight line. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a challenge. Like the nerves building up to it is always the worst bit. When you're actually there and your zone cutting, it's the best.
Honestly, it's such a tough one for me. I really enjoyed all of them. I've got a tie between. Well, I'll let you guys talk before I say what I've got. But yeah, I'm really struggling to pick which one's the actual winner.
I think I've got my winner after just thinking about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
I know who it was all really close. They're all like a point away from each other.
Yeah.
But I think structure at the end kind of set a lot of them aside. So I think there was just a little bit more refinement needed in one corner. Maybe a little bit too much refinement over here in terms of it just maybe being a bit overkill, like with that fringe again in the middle. But then over here was kind of just like good wholesome barbering on all levels.
Yeah.
So I've had to sway that way just for sort of overall top marks from all angles rather than it just being about like a funky style.
I think it's so close, and I can see from our scores, we've both scored Dion on the left, the winner.
Yeah.
And I know yours.
I did too. My thought process was that if young Dion here, the young lady, if she'd have put just a tiny bit more effort into her styling, she would have won it.
Yep.
For me.
Yeah.
But because she didn't, and I think Josh did a great job of really being super creative and doing a lot of texture, and he did some great stuff. But overall, I think, as crazy as it sounds, like the classics, you'd never can beat, in my opinion, something that looks just effortless.
It's the execution that was a big thing for me. While it wasn't the hardest haircut. In fact, it was probably the easiest haircut. But the execution in terms of that, there was nothing to fault on it for me.
And also the versatility of a haircut like that is something to be said as well, because you know that even if that isn't styled, it's probably still going to look good.
But I'd say like we're talking minimal, like it's so close.
Yeah. So do we think that these two had their own model, that they knew the hair, they'd cut the hair before?
But you'd think that'd be an advantage.
But that's my point. So my point being that because Dion didn't know his hair, didn't know the density, how it would sit when he cuts it, whether it would go finer in certain areas.
You've got to add points just for that.
You've got to give him props for the fact that he took a model that he didn't know, who has lighter texture of hair, probably in certain areas. And he still managed to make it look clean, classic, and overall finish was nice.
Yeah. Should we get them back out and we will declare the next round winner to go through to the semis?
Yeah, sounds great.
As always, here comes the difficult part. 2 people have got to go out and 1 person's got to go through to the next round.
Hello. I'll start. I'll just go along the line. Dion, I thought you, considering the fact that you didn't have your own model today and you were forced to do a model that you didn't know the person's hair texture, you'd never cut them before, you didn't know anything about them, their personality and stuff, I thought you took that on really well. In these settings, it's always good to have your own model and know what you're going to do beforehand. So big props to you for taking that situation on and doing what you did. I think your haircut was fantastic, very, very nice classic style, and I think you killed the overall finish on that as well. It was good, man. Josh, big marks for creativity level. You killed that one. The texture was really nice on the top. I loved the different texturizing techniques you used, finishes, point cutting, and I really loved the heavy skin fade with the that strong part line that you put down the side. I thought that was really, really nice and executed really well. So big props to you for that. Dion, fantastic work again. I thought you did a really great job. My only thing with yours that I thought she could have took a little bit more weight out in certain areas, but that was literally all it was. I thought the taper was great, the lines were beautiful, the barbering work was sensational. I think you did a really great job as well. Yeah, well done.
Nice. Yeah, I think you guys all did really well, to be honest. It was really hard, I think, even when we were all talking, just to kind of know who was better than who, because it was all really good. Dion, I think, again, considering that you didn't know your model and stuff, you've done a great job. I think that's sort of fundamental barbering at its core, because you don't get to choose your clients. So that's, you know, you've done a great job there. I think the whole styling of it and weight distribution and how you created the shape of it was really good. The only thing I'd say is slight sort of disconnections through the front here, which if a client doesn't know how to style it properly, it might just kind of, or if he doesn't style his hair one day, that's the kind of bit that might look a bit crap, you know. So just sort of consider that. Don't leave any little bits hanging out, but otherwise it was really good. Josh, I think your style was really cool. Very modern, crop, nice stretched out fade. So the skin was actually really low, and you kind of pulled that fade all the way up to the top. The surgical parting that you put in was pretty cool as well. I like the way that it went from thick to thin and had a little curve, like a little swish on it. That was nice. I'd say the fringe for me on that haircut was maybe just a little bit too. It was neither long crop nor completely cropped off. It was kind of somewhere in the middle, and as we were saying before, that's kind of subjective in terms of like just the style. But for me, I just kind of didn't know what that was doing there. But overall, it was really cool, and the colour was good, and the texture. I like the way you used the texturizing scissors at the end to sort of create that texture and point. You used it to point cut, so that was really cool. Dion, you clearly like cutting hair. Like, I like to see someone having fun when they're trimming and doing what they're doing, so that was cool. The style was really nice as well, and I like the way that you kind of gave us that contrast between like really short to kind of a really long style on top. All of your techniques were really good, and I would say the only thing, same as Kieran said, was just sort of where you kind of left this weight around the edges. There was like, you were kind of like a millimetre away from it being perfect, and I think that was just turning your comb around and using the wide part of the comb rather than using your fine tooth. Like your fine tooth clipper over comb or scissor over comb, I would use to just refine fades, so sort of like right in the very short areas. But with these big chunky areas, you kind of want to use a wider part of the comb and just get that bulk out just to smooth it out and make sure that there's that shape there and it's not too mushroomy, because the regrowth is going to be affected by that. But otherwise, it was really good.
Yeah, I mean, we had a really tough time like picking between the 3 years, because you all did incredible. Like, there was not a lot between you all in terms of like technique and the finish, and everything was really, really good. So yeah, the person going through to the next round, and I'm like talking marginal. We really struggled to like pick someone here. It's going to be Dion. So congratulations, guys! You did phenomenal. Like we were like, who do we pick?
Literally a point off, like 1 point off. So yeah, it was really hard.
Well, we have a little gift from sponsors and product. STMNT product. And that's And that concludes round 2 of Barber vs Barber. I just want to say a big thank you to our sponsor, STMNT Grooming Goods, and we'll see you for round 3.